Every year, people around the world risk everything for a single line in a record book. Most of them walk away with a title, a headline, and 15 minutes of fame. But some of them don't walk away at all. This is the story of the people who chased a world record and paid for it with their lives. How it happened, why it keeps happening, and what it says about how far humans will go just to be called the first, the fastest, or the only one. Not every record is dangerous. Most are harmless. Stacking cups, growing nails, collecting rubber ducks. But a certain category of records pushes directly against the limits of the human body. How fast you can go, how deep you can dive, how long you can hold your breath, how high you can fly. In those categories, the record and the risk are the same thing. You can't break the record without going right up to the edge, and sometimes past it. In the 1950s and 60s, one man held both the land and water speed records at the same time, the only person in history to do both. In 1967, he pushed his jet-powered boat toward 300 miles per hour on a lake, chasing his own record one more time. The boat lifted off the water, flipped, and disintegrated on impact. His body wasn't recovered for over 3 decades. Freediving, diving as deep as possible on a single breath, no tanks, no equipment, is one of the most extreme categories in the record world. In 2013, an American diver attempting a national depth record pushed past 70 meters on one breath. He surfaced, signaled that he was okay, and then collapsed. The pressure at that depth had caused internal bleeding in his lungs. He died hours later. Not every fatal record attempt is solo. In 2014, over 200 skydivers gathered in the Arizona desert to set a record for the largest formation jump ever completed. Most of the group landed safely. One diver, a 46-year-old German athlete with over 1,500 jumps of experience, had her main parachute fail to open properly. Investigators later confirmed it had nothing to do with the size of the group. It was simply, tragically, her turn for something to go wrong. Some record attempts sound almost too strange to be real. In 2013, an Indian daredevil attempted to break the record for the longest zipline crossing using nothing but his own hair as the anchor point, sliding across a river below. Halfway across, he suffered a fatal cardiac arrest. In front of a cheering crowd that had no idea anything was wrong until it was too late. In 2005, a well-known Iranian stunt performer attempted to break the world record for the longest motorcycle jump over a row of parked buses, 22 of them lined up side by side. He didn't clear the row. His bike came down short, crashing into the 13th bus in the line. The impact was fatal. A physician known in the diving world by the nickname Doc Deep spent years pushing the boundaries of recreational scuba diving. In 2015, he attempted a dive to 1,200 feet, far beyond standard recreational limits. He descended and never came back up. His body was recovered later. Aviation has one of the most heartbreaking categories: records for the youngest person to fly across a country or around the world. In 1996, a 7-year-old attempting to become the youngest pilot to fly coast to coast across the United States died alongside her flight instructor when their small plane crashed in bad weather shortly after takeoff. In 2014, a 17-year-old attempting to become the youngest person to circle the globe by plane died along with his father when their aircraft went down shortly after departure. Both cases sparked the same painful question: how young is too young for a record like this? In Sri Lanka, a 24-year-old attempted one of the more unusual endurance categories, being buried alive underground for as long as possible. Sealed inside a wooden chamber 10 feet below the surface, he lost consciousness and died before he could be pulled out. A record attempt with no crash, no fall, and no obvious danger on the surface, and yet just as fatal. Look closely at these cases, and a pattern emerges. It's rarely recklessness in the way people imagine. Most of these were experienced, skilled people, record-setting speed racers, veteran divers, seasoned skydivers. The danger wasn't a lack of skill. It was the nature of the record itself. By definition, a world record sits at the very edge of what's been done before, which means there's no safety margin left to test against. The first person past the edge is also, often, the first person to discover exactly where it breaks. These deaths didn't go unnoticed by the organizations that track records. Over the years, several extreme and high-risk categories have been quietly retired, tightened with new safety requirements, or removed from the books entirely. Some specifically because of fatal attempts. Certain categories now require medical clearance, professional supervision, or minimum age requirements that didn't exist before. It's a direct, if painful, feedback loop. Tragedy leading to new rules. This raises an uncomfortable question that record organizations still wrestle with. Should categories this dangerous be allowed to exist as records at all? Some argue that pushing human limits is exactly what world records are supposed to celebrate, and that risk is part of the achievement. Others argue that turning life-threatening stunts into a competitive title actively encourages people to take chances they otherwise wouldn't, chasing a piece of paper instead of walking away. So why do people keep attempting records that could kill them? For some, it's the pure challenge of testing personal limits. For others, it's legacy. A permanent line in a book that says, "This person did something no one else ever had." And for a smaller number, it's the modern version of the same thing: virality, sponsorship, and the kind of fame that a dangerous stunt can generate almost instantly online. The reasons vary, but the pull toward the edge is the same one that's driven human ambition for centuries. Every record in the book represents a story. And for a small, unlucky number of people, that story didn't get a happy ending. These weren't reckless daredevils looking for a cheap thrill. Most were skilled, prepared, and serious about what they were doing. They simply reached a limit that no one, including them, knew was there until it was too late. Next time you see a headline about a new world record attempt, remember, behind every title is a real risk, and for some it was the last thing they ever did. If you want more deep dives into the real stories behind world records, subscribe, because there's always another one worth telling.